Yes, sir. Y'all already know what it is. I told y'all all 2024, we're going to be hitting you over the head with this content. Welcome to another episode of Professor and Friends. Today, we're going to really get into the thick of things. See, I got a brother right here that done went through some things, a lot of adversity, and came back on the other side, man. And I think this is very important because we know what our community holds, and we know how important it is for individuals that have gone through something to come on the other side and find glory in that. And so this brother right here is ready to share a little bit about his life and where he currently is and how he made it through all of that. So hopefully for those that's focused in on this content, y'all can really get some inspiration and copy some of these moves that this brother has made. We talk a lot about the trades. We talk about how important they are. This is a brother who's actually involved in the trades, and he did it for a reason that's very interesting. So we're really going to touch on all of those things. And I'm looking forward to having a great conversation. So with that being stated, I'd like to welcome Mr. Dirk Nauman to the stage, to Professor and Friends. And, you know, before we get started, I really like to just ask you a little bit about yourself so you can tell the listeners, the followers, the viewers who you are.
Well, thank you for that introduction. I must have left my Superman cape, in the other room. But awesome introduction. No, it's an honor to be here. So I think DeAndre and I were going to be arm wrestling to find out who the professor is and who the friend is here. So I'm going to challenge him on this. So,
yes,
but yeah, my name is Dirk Nauman, and I am in the HVAC industry. So that's heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. So, but I've been in the industry probably about 14, 15 years, and we'll get into how I got into the industry. But I got into the industry for all the wrong reasons, and there's a heck of a story behind this. But looking to dig into it. But I do have a successful life. I come from a raised with a loving family. But I made a lot of bad choices, and I've always wondered, why me? Why didn't it happen to my siblings? Or why was, I had to be the black sheep in the family? So, I always wondered why me. And, it turned into a pity party. But, the sad thing is I was the only one attending that pity party. So, but yeah, where are we going to go with this? Where do you want to start out? My childhood, my, adolescence, or where are we going with this?
Where you were starting to go is actually the reason why when we had our conversation, our one-to-one, as I was talking about returning citizens, it was the way that your mental makeup is that ultimately wanted me to bring you to the Professor and Friends so we could have that conversation, because it's your resilience that really has you in the position to be successful and to overcome the adversity, as I mentioned that we touched on. And as I just touched on, you are a returning citizen, and that's how we met. And I thought that, again, your story would be important for those, because obviously I come from a community west side of Chicago with many incarcerated folks, and the work that I do actually lends itself to working with individuals that are returning and trying to get them into the renewable energy space, and so the trades is something that's very important. And I thought that mission to be able to bring you in and have the conversation. So I suppose if we're going to have anywhere to start, it would be with the beginning to talk about, you said that, you were the only one that had to sit with it and have your own pity party. And so essentially, let's just start there. Why did you have to have a pity party? What was the issue?
So I started digging into my life, my childhood, because of Alcoholics Anonymous. And, I'm not trying to bring that in here. We do have traditions. I am a member of it. But with that, it talks about the pain that we have inside of us, and we have to get that pain out. If we do not release that pain and get that out of us, then, we are always you have a higher probability of, going back to those behaviors. Because, alcoholism and drug addiction is just a symptom of something else, right? We're masking. That is my belief on it. So, what did it stem from? So, what better way than starting, back in my early childhood memories. And, again, I was raised with two parents Dad was a hard worker, possibly a workaholic. My dad did drink. Drugs were not in the house. Mom was a stay-at-home mom. My dad worked at Caterpillar, and so with that, I'm the youngest of the children. I did not have a tight relationship with my brother, and it's just, he wasn't the big protective brother. I was always seemed like I was always out by myself, and it seems like I did not fit in anywhere. So with that, um, I, I was the kid in the classroom, and I was bullied as a kid. When a teacher would ask me to read, I would put my head down and just pray to God, please don't call me. Please don't call me to read, because I was not a good reader. So with that, and then when I did have to read, the smarty pants in the classroom, they would always giggle and laugh, and it was a form of bullying, is what it was. It really was. And so, I did not know how to deal with those emotions. My old man, my dad was a, German, and in the household, it was, if he started to cry for anything, it's like, go to your room to figure it out. And, so that's just the way we were raised in the house. It seemed to work for the other siblings. Maybe I needed more love and I didn't get the love, or, I'm not trying to pass blame onto anybody. That's just the way it was. And so when I started getting a little bit older, it was a matter of, the drinking, very young age drinking, but I fit in with a group of people. I just like, hey, I can be one of them. But I was an outcast from everybody else. Excuse me, why get rid of that guy? And but this is my story. This is unique to me as an individual, and I am very open with it. Hang on here. I'm sorry.
No worries.
And so with that, it was, I didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't have any type of counselor who knew what was going on in, the Nauman household. And, I was not abused, but the punishments from my father were very severe when I did do wrong. So, but, I went through, elementary school. It was the same, I'm talking drinking, like, I was stealing beers.
Wait, you were drinking in elementary school?
Oh, God, yeah. Oh, absolutely. We were stealing beers from my dad and other kids. That's just, that's when you see parents doing something, you're going to mimic what people do because they're grown-ups. And, so we would steal beers and we would go, drink 2 or 3 beers. Oh, this is 3rd, 4th grade. Absolutely. And and then it led into the marijuana and, a lot of criminal activity. But it was just, there was all types of this love around me, but I just didn't know how to express the emotion of love. And so, and it took me many years to be able to express any type of feeling. So it was actually when I was incarcerated when, I started getting into the whole psychology of the mindset and what the brain.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah. So I remember the first magazine I picked up was called Psychology Today.
Yes, sir. Psychology Today. Okay.
Fell in love with the book.
Yeah.
Fell in love with the magazine, and I got a subscription to it, and that was one of my favorite. I don't read it anymore, but that is one of the reasons why I am who I am today, is because of that magazine. So
yeah. So are you from Illinois?
I am.
Oh, what part of Illinois?
So I live in Henry, Illinois, which is just south of LaSalle, Peru.
Okay.
Just south of Interstate 80, right in the middle of the state.
Okay. And that's where you're from? That's where you were raised at?
Yeah, I was born and raised, and I moved back here 9 years ago.
Oh, okay. Okay. So what actually led to you becoming incarcerated? I know you just said that, started drinking at a young age, in grade school, from there started getting involved in, illicit activity, smoking pot and things like that. And then you skipped the whole chapter and said, I was incarcerated and found Psychology Today. So let's back it up a little bit.
Back it up. So, I did not graduate high school in Henry. I went to a thing called alternative schools.
Okay.
Just because of my criminal activity, I was not allowed back in the school.
Now, what's criminal activity though? What were
Oh,
you?
I was kicking. I had absolutely no respect for the human or
Wow.
other people's property. Kicking in,
Okay.
stealing.
Okay.
I was a thug. Just think of whatever a thug does, and
right. That's what I was doing. Okay, I hear you.
Right. So I had absolutely no respect for humans, and I had no respect for anybody's property. I was going to do what I was going to do at any cost. And with that, there's drug dealing, a little petty, I thought I was this big player selling a little marijuana. I was a big guy, I had a little cash in my pocket, I was high in the world. And but with that, then I went to alternative school, and all that did was give me more drug contacts. And then somehow I was able to get through that. I went to Illinois Central College, junior college, and I was able to manage to get to Southern Illinois and Southern Illinois University. Went down there, and again, it was back in the 90s, late 80s, 90s. That was the party school. And I think the requirement to get into Southern Illinois was a pulse at that time. So I was able to get in there, did not graduate, drugged out, drunk out, but this is where I got into cultivating marijuana. And with that, again, I was like the big shot, and so the money in the pocket.
Everybody loved a guy that could supply the marijuana on campus.
Oh yeah, I was it. What? I was it. And then if you really want to get into it, I can tell you the stories. And then I was delivering it to the Robert Taylor homes.
Wow.
Yeah.
You were coming now. How far is Henry away from us?
No, this is from Carbondale. So this was
Carbondale. How far is Carbondale away?
6 hours.
6?
Mm-hmm.
So you would cultivate the weed. You had a grow house at SIU?
Multiple
grow houses
throughout the state of Illinois is what this grew into.
Hold on, wait. See, we skipping too many details. Hold on. Okay, so you went to SIU Carbondale.
Mm-hmm.
And then where did you? So how did you get this affinities to start growing marijuana? Like, I know you were using it, and then how did you manifest that into multiple grow houses? Like, what happened? How did you get there? You took chemistry or something? Like what?
Greed is the biggest character defect that I have.
Okay.
And it is today. It still is today. That's why I do what I do.
Yeah.
But I'm just doing it legal now. So, but So it just started out. Found somebody did it, showed it to me, and like, wow. And the way my brain works.
Yeah.
The way my brain works. Yeah. I'm gonna take it to a level that no one's ever seen. So,
yeah.
But
I received that. I've had experiences similar where I'm like, I wasn't the guy to get in trouble, but if somebody showed me how to do it, my mind worked such way. I can do this on a higher level here. I know I received that.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So and the first time, so and it was my buddy down there, and his brother was in a gang up there, and we've become pretty close, real close friends. The brother, but he wasn't going to allow his brother to have that same lifestyle as him, so he was paying for him to go to school. We came very close friends to this day. But his brother came down, we talked, and I went up there, and the very first time I went up there, garage door went up, garage door goes down, and then his buddies are there, and then like, hopefully I can cuss. Holy shit. There's people with guns. I'm dead. I'm gonna die. I'm just like, so I said,
using the Robert Taylors. You using how much did you bring with you?
So do you remember the Cougars, the V8 Cougars, those long cars with the big trunks? You remember those cars?
I mean, I was born in '87, so I don't know.
Okay.
That might be before me.
So this was in this was in the 90s. So I bought the car because of the trunk space. I needed the biggest trunk to transport. And so with that, but no, I was on average, it was about 15 to 20 pounds up there. So, but
Mm.
yeah, so that, I mean, to that day, there's been a lot of times I've been scared of my life, but that was probably the scariest moment
Yeah.
that I had in my life. And, we worked through that and it continued.
Hmm.
And so, but I did get pinched.
Yeah.
I was married at the time, this is probably like 5 years later now. And so that behavior continued for 5 years. But, the thing of it is with the brain is once you do something for so long,
Hmm.
it becomes normal.
Hmm.
You don't even think about if it's legal or if it's illegal.
Hmm.
And it was very lucrative at the time.
Hmm. What's
Very lucrative.
lucrative?
I was probably $250,000 a month.
You said $250,000 a month?
Yeah. Mhm.
Woo.
Yeah. So, I mean,
You was
but
working. You was working.
and let me back up. That would be for the winter months. So the whole grow operation, because there's a lot of heat, and this heat is going to play into the story here.
Okay.
And but those are because the summer months you can't do as much. So yeah, I don't
Okay.
know. Maybe on average it was probably maybe like a $150,
Okay.
$175.
But that's a month, $150 a month.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's what you were netting?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, and there was other players in it. I wasn't a one-man show. I had,
Okay.
I've grown out to other people, but yeah.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
but I was,
But you were the guy though.
I was,
you were,
yeah.
you
Mhm.
were- okay.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay.
So I got pinched just coming out of, and oh my goodness, off the interstate, off of Harlem onto Interstate 80, and oh my God, I can't think of the town name now. Where the stage is, the amphitheater.
That's Tinley?
Tinley Park. Thank
Mhm.
you. Yes. So they said I didn't have a turn signal on, which was BS, but God has a plan. It happened for the right reasons. You don't see the reasons at the time. So, but and because I'm living in St. Louis and I had St. Louis license plates, and the amount of money that I had on me, and then I had an ounce of weed, and they hit me with a Class X felony, transportation of drugs across state line.
So you had 1 ounce of weed, but you had a bunch of money on you, and they hit you with a Class X felony?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Man.
Mm-hmm.
And what year was this?
This was in 2000 and I think 2000, 2001. I'd have to pull out my PSR.
You had an ounce? That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So, and so I got an attorney and fought it. They held me Class X felony, so that was 2 days, 48 hours. My wife at the time filed a missing person report, and with that, it was everything scattered. I became everyone knew something happened. Right. I disappeared, so when the top guy disappears, something, so everyone was protecting himself. And then it started. He's a snitch. He's a narc. It gave everyone the ability to, break away from me, which I held low. Held my ground, kept my mouth shut, and just let it play out. And, I thought that, I'll show everybody, and that I kept my mouth shut. Therefore, all these people I've been helping over these last 5 years and they would come through for me. Did not happen. And then, when you get locked up, I lost everything on that. Everything, my wife, everything. So, but, with that is, I didn't lose 100% everything, but when you're living that lifestyle,
well, you lost your livelihood and essentially your life and your freedom.
well, if you got enough money, you can fight it. So that's what happened.
Okay.
I got out of that with a slap on the hand.
Okay. So the first one was just the
slap on the hand. All right, here's the good. Here comes the good stuff. Right.
Yeah.
So with that, what is the next step? So I'm laying low in St. Louis, keeping my mouth shut, and then with that, my wife is having an affair with on me, and so with that, I'm just like, I again never been able to deal with my emotions. Did not know how to deal with my emotions. So And with that, so that marriage ended. So 2 kids in that marriage, and I put drugs and alcohol before my kids. And a lot of people's like, wow, why do you say that? How could you admit to it? Because one, it's the truth,
Yeah.
and so I'm not proud of it, but it's very
Mm.
much the truth. And and with that, I um she moved out. I stayed in the house, and then nothing cures a brokenhearted than a fine woman,
Mm.
another fine woman. All right. So where do you go? Where do you go to find a woman at? Strip club, right? That's where you go.
I often say a website.
So with that, I got hooked up with the wrong crowd there.
Mhm.
And so with that is got hooked on methamphetamines there through that process. And
Yeah.
one of the things, I still had a little bit of money. I wasn't broke at the time, but then with that, there wasn't any drug around. And it was, this thing called anhydrous ammonia, how, they can't make the drug and like the fertilizer, I'm from Farmville,
Mhm.
Illinois, and I can get all that stuff. So I introduced these people to get that that stuff to make it.
Mm.
And then I come about a place to have a place to make the drug. And with that, I said, well, I got a house. I have the kids every other weekend. So every other weekend, they're making dope in my house. And unfortunately, I don't, at that time, I didn't know how to pick friends. I didn't know what a friend was. I didn't know how to be a friend. Didn't know who a friend was. I thought it was, the people with the money in the pocket and the dope in the pocket is what the friend was.
Mhm.
And with that, it was a confidential informant that I invited into my house. And
Mm.
oh yeah. And
Mm.
so everybody, I mean, when I say everybody, all the tan cars, the uh, U.S. Marshals, DEA, they just swarm a whole neighborhood for active lab. And I don't know how to make the stuff.
Mhm.
I was a drug addict. I wasn't a manufacturer, but my charges
Mhm.
show different. But I'm a drug
Right.
addict,
Yeah.
so with that, that led into, well, actually, for whatever reason, I was let out. So I got arrested. And then the girl, I don't know how, still to this day, I don't understand this. When the federales come in and they arrest you, you're done. All right.
Mm.
You really are. And once you get tied into that system, but somehow someone posted bond, which no bond was posted, and I walked out of jail.
Wow.
Yeah. So I have no, the
So
house.
a computer error set you free.
To this day, I don't understand how this happened. So with that, I lived on the streets of St. Louis,
Mm.
homeless. I just, I went off the grid.
Mm.
I wanted to be the David Banner, if you remember the Incredible Hulk. David Banner, roaming the streets with the backpack, and I
Mhm.
did that. I did that on the streets of St. Louis. I was the David Banner of St. Louis,
Mhm.
and just roaming around. And I did that for almost a year, kicking in old abandoned hotels and getting out of the cold. I didn't have a home. It was pretty bad. It was really
Mhm.
bad. So,
Yeah.
but then they actually caught me up in my hometown. Mom, dad, they didn't know if I was alive or dead. But then I came back up to home, and I don't know what I was doing, but I was tired of living on the streets and
Mhm.
begging for mercy and some help. And I was in bad shape.
Mhm.
And with that, I got pinched. The federales knew where I was. It's a small town. All right. Henry's 2,500 people. And then everyone came and they
So,
got me.
so they're picking you up this time because of letting
Yeah.
you out.
It's the same thing as before. Yep. I was on the run. Yeah. There was warrants out for me. So,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
yeah. But, I continue with the same behavior, right? I
Right.
came up here, met my friends, and I was going to the bars and,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I was doing the same thing.
Okay. Yeah.
Same freaking thing.
Yeah.
It's, again, if you do something for so long, it becomes natural. You don't know
Yeah. For
whether
sure.
it's right or wrong. And when you
For
add
sure.
drugs on top of that, your brain is distorted. It's a disease. And,
Yeah.
and that's a message I carry to a lot of people. And when I hear people about their alcoholism and when they do stupid things, I do not pass judgment on them just because I understand the disease more so than most people.
Right. You have lived experience. You know what I mean? For
Yeah.
real.
Yeah. Yeah, so that led to the 10-year prison sentence.
Okay. So the first time it was short-lived, slap on the wrist because you were able to pay. The second time you were let out due to an error. This time you go, you spend 10 years.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. Now you say you were a 4-time felon though, right?
Yeah, I had some weed, marijuana charges, and to this day I can go get those eradicated.
Yeah.
But I choose not to. I earned them. Those are mine. That's like my superpower. That's my superpower. It is, you know. I don't want you're not taking that stuff away from me. And part of the mentality on that is that it was illegal when I broke the law. So those have to stay with me. But some people, like, you know, they want me to go file for the presidential pardon. But no, I'm not doing it.
Yeah, I understand. Like you said, you well, and I don't want to misquote it, but I like the way you put it. Where you said your past. How did you put it? The past dictates the future, or how did you say
your future is only as good as your past.
Your future is only good as your past. So you letting folks know this is where I'm from. So what you see, I was successful doing that. Obviously, I earned those, and I'm earning this right here.
Right. And part of that is we all have a history. I don't care who you are.
For sure.
Everybody has that history. And if you look on your past as regret, you look on your past as nothing but a mistake, then that's what your future is going to be. Because again, you get into the mindset, if you believe something for so long, it becomes true. You're going to find every reason to justify it.
Yeah.
And so, you know, and this was part of the whole Psychology Today thing.
Yeah.
Is I had to start seeing how turn those past experiences into actual learning experiences. And not only that, but to share it to help other people.
Yeah. I actually wanted to start moving forward into kind of where we are now, starting with the Psychology Today magazine, because so your entire stint was just 10 years?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so the stint was 10 years.
That was with the halfway house. I'm adding everything. The county time wasn't 10 years in the institution, but yeah, my sentence was 131 months.
Okay. 131 months. Okay, so the first time that you really started to, I don't even know if I want to say turn the corner, but what really helped you to get to this point was starting with the Psychology Today magazine. What else helped you throughout the 10-year process to really gain control of your mindset and say, this is what I'm going to do? So
for the first 3 years, I did the same thing. It's what I knew in the institution. So there are drugs and alcohol in the institution. There's so with that, that's what I did. And, you know, being that I had that connection from Robert Taylor Holmes and I kept my mouth shut, and plus I went into the tutoring lab and to help people get their GED. So, you know, it's about rehabilitation is what prison is supposed to be about, whether you know, I won't get into the political side of that, but if you get your GED, it shows that you're rehabilitating people. And with that, they hold that GED as hostage for you to have certain freedoms within the institution. So I was one of few that could cross racial boundaries in the institution. And, you know, one of that reason is because of, you know, my connection at Robert Taylor Holmes and, you know, who that person was. And I, you know, so with that.
Wait, hold real quick. Did they give you a cool nickname?
Dirty Dirk. you don't need a nickname when you got like a name like Dirk. You know?
Facts.
But with that, you know, so, but I still did the same thing, you know, and then with that, 3 years into it, I hear that my grandmother is passing away and there's a chance that I can get a furlough, and I was going to jump on that bus. And because at that time, furloughs were done. They weren't done with Con Air. So yeah, Con Air does exist. And so with that, I wanted to go see my grandmother one time. So I quit everything because I had to have a year without any shots. And with that, I It did not happen. Grandma passed away.
Mm,
But during that time, and I was reading Psychology Today,
mm,
and during that time, a friend asked me to go to what was called the RDAP program, Residential Drug Abuse Program. So, and it was a Tuesday night AA, and the outsiders came in,
mm,
and this is my first speaker meeting, and where I'm going to AA to mock the
mm,
group, and like what a bunch of losers in AA, right? And so with that, this guy got up there and started talking about the brotherhood of AA. He was a garbage man, best job in the world because no one could smell the alcohol. This is back in the day when they hung
mm,
onto the back of the truck,
mhm,
and he sobered up, became CEO of a software company, had cancer, and that's where he was talking about the brotherhood of AA. And I don't know who that guy is to this day, but I remember that story.
mhm,
And at that point is where I figured out what I was missing throughout my whole life, and that the brotherhood.
mhm,
I didn't have a friend. Again, I didn't know what a friend was. I didn't know how to be a friend, and so with that, I started reading it was actually Narcotics Anonymous book, but I started reading the stories in the back of the NA book, and I'm just like, wow, I'm not alone out there. There's
mm,
other people out there like me. And then I started getting into the AA, and I started going to AA, and being that who I was in the institution. I wasn't a big guy in the institution or anything like that, but I did know things. I did know things.
mhm.
And with back in that days when you could keep your PSI, your PSR, your pre-sentence report, your investigation, and basically showed you whether or not you kept your mouth shut or,
Mhm.
so,
Is that
but
what I mean, being unfamiliar with it, but watching videos, is that when they say, "Let me check your papers"?
you got it. You
Okay.
got it. Yep.
Mhm,
So, and I was rock solid. So with that, it led to me going to certain people and asking for their grace because I was going to change my ways.
mhm,
And if not, I was going to have to check into the hole and get transferred to a different institution. But I asked people for their grace, and they said, as long as you keep your mouth shut, you can stay on the campus.
mhm,
And so I sobered up and started changing my ways at that point. And it's, I give it a lot of credit to AA. Started going to, they call it programming in the institution, started going to counseling sessions, and I think every wing had a counselor, a psychologist, and
mhm,
Dr. DiBiase was the one on what was called Unity. So I spent the 10 years in Lexington,
mhm,
Kentucky at the Federal Medical Center. And with that, I started getting more visits. You know, slow change, you don't see it. It's like when you go on a diet and you're
yeah,
real religious about that diet, and you don't see a family member in 3 months, you're like, whoa,
right,
but
yeah,
but you're just you've lived it with it day in, day
right,
out.
right. That's
It's
how
the
I feel about getting fat,
same.
"Hey,
So,
man, where did this come from?" Because 'Cause I'm living
yeah,
with
or
me,
or the opposite. Yeah, you
Yeah,
gain the weight.
yeah,
Yeah. So, but behavior's the same way. Behavior's the same way.
right,
And people coming down, and my sister was one of them, and she's like, "Who is this kid? Who is
mhm,
this?" And they started seeing it, so I started getting more visits from them. My mom and dad were rock solid throughout the whole thing,
mhm,
and then my sisters, my aunts, and more people started to come to visit me for that. And visits mean a lot, and
yeah,
so but and that's how I sobered up in the institution. And my dad passed away. Mom and dad came down to recognize me for my birthday, October 21st of 2006.
mhm,
And as soon as they left, they stopped at Outback Steakhouse, and my dad allergic to nuts, and they had ground up pecans in this
mm,
blue cheese, and my dad went into an anaphylactic shock and
mm,
died on my birthday. And so the whole family came down,
wow,
to be part of this experience. And so with that, I was able to stay sober through that. My
wow,
brother committed suicide. Even though I wasn't close to my brother, I did have that one moment where I was able to go make amends to him. When I was on the run at that time. Um, and with that, my brother committed suicide when I was able to stay sober through that. As
wow,
my mom and everything, my grandmother, obviously passed away in there
yeah,
too. But anybody who serves more than 5 years is going to have to deal with
yeah, yeah,
bereavement in the
yeah,
institution. So,
yeah,
but yeah, and then then that day where everyone is scared and people sabotage their freedom by going and doing stupid things just to get another charge to stay in prison, because it's a scary thing. And
Being out in the world is scary.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Mm.
And those were fears that I talked about. And there's a book, and I encourage everyone to read this book. It's a quick read. It's 99 Days and a Get Up. And what this book does, it talks about how you can have a healthy relationship with your family, even though they don't trust you. You've done everything in the book for them not to trust you. It's not their fault. Don't blame your family, if they don't trust you.
Right.
It's, so, and then, and then also talked with how to deal with rejection.
Mm.
So, and because those are two things that are going to send a person back to recidivism, back into the institution.
Yeah. Mm.
So
you talked about being a success, because I want to start to move into the present where we currently are. We filled in the blanks now. You talked about being a successful drug dealer, then successful.
that doesn't exist, but go ahead.
I mean, you holding on to the stripes, so you want people to know that's when you were successful. You earned those. Then you were successfully able to conquer addiction. And it sounds like a lot of trauma helped to propel you as well. And now you are actually the successful owner of an HVAC company.
Training company, not a contractor.
Yes. HVAC training company.
Right. So okay. Yeah, actually, I'm going to put myself back into prison because we talked about the heat, but the heat from the cultivation. So remember, I mentioned that greed was a character defect. What are you going to do after you spent 10 years in prison? What are you going to do when you get out? So with that, I went into the apprenticeship program of HVAC. And the sole reason I went into that is so I could grow better marijuana. That's what I was going to do when I was released. And I'm sober at this point. All right. I'm sober, but this is how screwed up my mind is at this time, because of the fear of being released. And so, so now I have, a year and a half or 2 years of a little bit of HVAC experience. So with that, I was
out of curiosity, that is something that's offered to citizens that are inside.
Correct.
They have
apprenticeship programs. Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. Every prison has some type of apprenticeship program.
Okay.
So yeah. So I was released, and with that, I was in the halfway house for 6 months. Refused to go live with my mom, just for the simple fact that she'd been living alone now for 4 years without dad. And I was afraid if I'd moved back into mom, the attachment there, having someone back in that house.
Yeah.
And but you have to be released to the halfway house to where family is. And so Peoria, Illinois, so where the halfway house was. And I started applying. And this is so important about that 99 days and the get up. So I started applying to all these HVAC companies. And since I was at the Federal Medical Center, I didn't have to, the prison didn't have the word prison in it. So I had a very beautiful resume, right? Resumes, you can be anything on paper, right?
For sure.
So, but I was going applying, being that I had a case manager, I had to let them know. And so it was, applying, it was like, hell no, and hell no, get the hell out of here. I could not get a job. I'm like, oh no, but I kept trying. And the halfway house in Peoria is right behind the cathedral. It's 711 Monroe Street. I'll never forget the address. It's no longer the, address there, but my caseworker, her name was Levita Mudd. Hopefully she doesn't get mad at me for saying her name on this, but love the lady. She was my caseworker, and she's a class act. I can't even begin to tell you what I think of this lady. And and so she had a lot of, and we would just talk, and a lot of parallel stories, different lifestyles, and but the stories are always parallel, from one drug addict to the next drug addict. And but with that is that I kept praying every time because we're right behind the cathedral. I'd walk to the Illinois Department of Employment Securities. If you ever heard of that, that's where we go to get the computers, and that's where we're printing our resumes, and that's where this whole process is taking place. And can't get a job. I'm working at a place called SC2, and with that, I worked there for like a month, and suicide thoughts started coming in my brain. This is what my life has come to. I'm packing parts, on an assembly line. And, I just felt something greater, calling there. And, I'm like, I might as well just commit. And there were, I remember these thoughts of suicide, and I've had suicidal thoughts for, a long time. It is a battle that I have. And, and I still get them to this day. I'll be driving. Here comes the semi. He says, you know what, I'm just like, where the hell did that come from? So, but then, a gentleman by the name of Frank hired me and gave me my break. And, I think I went through probably more interviews typically. And, so he gave me a break, and it was, I don't know, for like $15 an hour in the year 2010. So I was released in 2010. And so, but I'm going to read this question here. Can you tell me about your journey?
No, well, this is
okay.
Yeah, you already started. We in it. You good?
Okay. So with that, I was the first in, last out. Pay me basically. He paid me what he could pay me, and I was just grateful to have the job. He worked with my case manager, and so with that, but it was obviously not enough. And then with that, I moved, got married, still married to my beautiful wife. And then from there, her son, who is very much my son, and he went to a parochial school, and it only went to 8th grade, and we had to think about what we were going to do. So, and this was all in the same town where I was working at. And with that, we decided to move back home. And the move was because grandma had a golf cart. So the number one means of communication in Henry, Illinois in the summer is golf cart. And but he could drive the golf cart, so he was cool. So we looked at the school here, and I feared moving back to my hometown because of my behaviors of my past and what how I was going to be judged, and how if it would affect Ethan. And but with that, it turned out to be the good move. So we moved back here. I found a contractor, and again, I'm always forthright about my journey. And so this new contractor that I was interviewing with was a recommendation from my friend. And this is 3 years outside of my incarceration now. And I just point blank said, hey, I've been in trouble. I'm a recovering drug addict, alcoholic, and it's led me to a lot of dark places. If you want to get more into it, let me know. But I go to AA all the time. I do this and I do that. And this is more important than me to the job, just so you know. And he says, no, I don't have a problem with it. So, and this guy is a genius, still a friend to this day. And he taught me how to program PLC, programmable logic controllers, and started learning that, and then, then I was cooking at a church event. It's a apostolic retreat, 3-day retreat. And I'm cooking with this guy, and his name is Mark. I'm cooking with him, like, all right, I know you from somewhere. How do I know you? And then we made that connection. We were both in the HVAC, and he worked for a distributor, and he kept saying, come on over. I got a job for you. And this is the mindset's, all right, 4 felonies, corporate job, not going to happen. And so, but it did happen, and I wasn't looking for it, but his boss reached out to me, and we started interviewing the process there. And so there, I became a technical support for a manufacturer for commercial products and residential. And
so real quick, you got a question. It said the logic controllers, are those like electrical logic gates?
So that PLC is programmable logic controls. You see it in a lot of municipality water plants, grain elevators, assembly lines. So it's got a HMI, human machine interface. You push the button, the conveyor starts. That's typically done with a PLC.
Okay.
It may be done with a microprocessor now, but yeah. So So learned a lot from this guy, working with him, and then this opportunity come up with this distributor with the manufacturer of equipment, and it's just, I mean, what I'm doing now, and then it's amazing. But again, it's my determination to choose not to fail. That is a choice, you know.
You can say
And
that one more time.
what's that now?
I said you can say that one more time.
Okay.
You can say that one more time.
It is a choice to fail, or it's a choice to succeed. If you're failing, there's nothing wrong with it. You're doing something wrong. Step back, look at it. I'm a big person who writes things down, especially goals. If you're goal oriented, then, you write it down. If you just think it and you talk about it, it's nothing. It's nothing. It's just, it's a thought.
And I try to tell people all the time, I believe we're magical beings, and that if you speak it, write it, think it, it will come true for you. So that writing it down, people do not understand how much writing something down will be the difference in success or failure.
Right.
For sure. I mean, I'm talking about in just getting started. You know what I mean?
So yeah, let's talk about that because with that, I wrote on what I wanted. One, I love women. I don't have a relationship with my kids, and so I had on, and these are the 3 things I prayed about, and I had it written on my locker in the institution. What it was is, I want a woman of the same faith. I want a woman who did not use, and I want a woman who was a good mother. I read that every day, and guess what I have? All of that came
exactly what manifestation is real,
right? And and what it is, if you read it every day, your subconscious mind will take over, and it will work for you to achieve those goals. But you got to read it every day, especially if you're struggling first. I don't do it every day now, but I do have my goals listed, and I probably look at them about once a week now. But it becomes a behavior, so I'm always thinking about it. And so with that, it was just my goals. I wrote down, all right, I'm a felon, I'm doing this. And remember, we've talked about greed as my character defect. So how, I wrote, all right, what does a successful HVAC technician make and everything? So I wrote, all right, $50,000. And then I made $50,000. So all right, I'm just going to put 75,000, and, I'm just like, holy shit. I hit that mark. All right, let's just jack it up to $100,000, and then I'm like, well, holy shit, there it is. All right. So then I'm thinking to myself, why am I doing increments of 25,000?
Right.
Now it's 250,000,
Go crazy.
Yeah. And, but again, that's what I read. And, and that's, the only way I'm going to get that is if I start a business. And being that I am a corporate trainer, tech support for HVAC manufacturer, I answering these calls. I'm just like, man, I'm getting calls for like stupid crap, things that you should know. If you're in this industry, it's stuff that you should already know. You shouldn't be calling me on this, right? And so I seen that there's this huge gap in the HVAC industry for knowing the fundamentals. And that's what we formed this training business around, is HVAC fundamentals.
Okay.
And so, and this is what, I'm sure we're going into bank tank here, but this is what I'm pitching here in the event. It's a spinoff of Shark Tank, but I had to learn a lot, so I made a trainer, introduced somebody to the HVAC industry, and it was, we called it a turd because it was a piece of shit trainer, but it turned into a hobby.
Yeah.
And then, I had to go and, I took it into a facility, printed circuit board manufacturer, asked them what it was going to take to make this, a production model. And they said 150,000. I said, all right, I'm done. I'm done. So, what do you do? So, you do what anybody would do. You take a vacation to a tropical island, you learn how to write C++ code, and you learn how to program microprocessors. That's what I did.
Crazy.
So
that's what's up.
Yeah. So I was getting up at 3 a.m. every morning, reading, doing, And luckily, I don't know if this is luckily, but I got sunburnt right away. And then I was stuck inside the hotel or the condo, and that's all I did.
That's all you had to do.
That's yep. So the sunburnt, and I came back, and probably 9 months later, I had a working prototype, and now it's we have multiple production models out there, and
Wow.
yeah.
Man.
So now I'm writing software. Again, I'm self-taught. I didn't go to school for any of this. All right.
Yeah.
So when the way I look at it is, if God didn't create it, then I can do it.
Right.
So
look, you mentioned Bank Tank, and I definitely want to start to touch on that, because that is a part of the right now, but I also want to tie that into one of the questions that I did have for you. So let's talk a little bit about Bank Tank and what's going to happen with that, and then let's talk about some of the long-term goals for the company and how you will plan to achieve those.
Yeah, so Bank Tank is a local derivative of Shark Tank. So a lady was on Shark Tank a few years ago. She works at Fortress Bank, which is in Des Moines all the way down to Peoria, so Interstate 80 to the 74 corridor. And she came back and started Bank Tank. This is the second year. And there's 4 contestants. I think there were about 250 applicants, and I am one of 4 who gets to pitch my vision for a grand prize of $20,000. And so my vision is, the company is founded on the fundamentals. People have asked me, can you do this? And, if you go to our YouTube page, I'm going to put a plug in. HVAC Simulator is the company name, hvacsimulator.com. You go to the training page, you're going to see some really crazy, awesome animations that I've been doing. And we have more in our software. But with that, I had to learn how to model 3D images and parts on it. And, I'm actually, I call him hopefully he's listening. I send him this to him, but he's my Pakistani buddy, and I call him my tutor. And but it's, all walks of life can come together to work together to create, to achieve a goal. And so it's not that I'm doing this all by myself, by the way. All right. So I'm going to put so Shark Tank was my business 101 courses. And then Dan Sullivan, strategic coach. Anybody who's an entrepreneur need to understand what strategic coach is. It's Dan Sullivan. I listen to his podcast, and that is what I call my 201 training, business training. And then, you have to have, I think his entrepreneur training is like $12,500 or $15,000. And, my goal, that's one of my goals is I'm going to be sitting in one of his training sessions up in Chicago. But yeah, Dan Sullivan, he wrote the book, Who, Not How. He's got multiple books out there, but Who, Not How is a book about, it's not knowing how to do it. It's about finding who to do it, because you can't do everything. He talks about the 80-20. I'm really getting into and these are my long-term goals I'm talking about here.
I hear you.
And so, one of his exercises are, write down everything that you do. Find the 20% that you like doing and get rid of the 80%. Hire somebody to do that other 80%.
Talk to him.
And then you're going to love your job all the time. It's no longer a job, right? It's just not, because you're doing the 20% you want. And then again, when you start getting overwhelmed, repeat. Write it all down, pick out what you like to do, kick the other 80% out to somebody else, and just keep doing that. And that's how that's one of his philosophies of growth. And one of my goals is, I want every and once you start seeing my animations and what I'm doing, for anybody who's in skilled trades will appreciate these videos that I'm creating for the industry. And when I say I don't mean me personally, it's a group, it's the team. So I got to give credit to the team. But the long-term goal is for every entry-level technician to touch one of our products out there. And because engineering is like exponential, and the technician knowledge is kind of linear. And so this disconnect is getting really, really large. And I live it every day with my job. So I have 2 jobs, a side business and, my job.
Okay. So you're still, the the corporate role that you took
Mhm.
on that helped prepare you for the business is the
Mhm.
role that you currently have still?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And so then the side business, you have that going on.
Mhm.
And then so I mean that I hear you because that's something I want to do. I like that though. I like that. So okay. I want to back it up because I know you said it was a HVAC training company that really teaches the fundamentals.
Correct.
But you also say that you develop products. Like,
Correct.
so you develop the products and then show folks how to use them, or these are separate? You have one service offering, one product offering.
So HVAC simulator is the very first project was to simulate how to use a electrical meter. So my belief is the diagnostics for any technician starts with electrical.
Mhm.
And therefore, you have to know how a electrical meter works. And so the first simulator that we created was a 13 by 14 desktop simulator that sits on a desktop, and it has what's called a schematic diagram. You learn the most important fundamentals of electrical HVAC with this desktop simulator. There's an 80-page curriculum that goes with it. And then, being that price tag of that it's pricey. So it's used in a lot of prisons. It's used in schools, contractors, career centers. And then, we created a twin version of it. It's software driven, but follows the same curriculum. And, I didn't see this at first. I didn't see that, but I just had like a PowerPoint with the needles moving around where it needed to be. And so someone says, hey, you should make that into, it came from another technician. You should make a digital version of that. So I created it for the instructor to be able to project it on the screen while other people are sitting in the seats with the desktop simulator. So, but then, it just kind of took off from there on the software side. And so now, so there's, there we call it the mega core principles, MEGA. So you got the mechanical aspect of the industry, you have the electrical aspect of the industry, you have the gas, whether it be refrigerant or combustion aspect of the industry, and then you have airflow. And then the other one is like water, but I couldn't think of a acronym or a word to spell with those 5 letters, so I just stuck with the mega. That's why we did the MEGA. So and we just stay on the fundamentals of that. So we have a refrigeration trainer out there. We're going to have a combustion trainer coming out, and our airflow trainers. And then, that is it. And then we'll just keep refining those because that is what the industry needs right now more than anything.
That's super dope. So I want to ask a few more questions about the business, and then, I'll let you go for the night. So how would you say your past experience has influenced your approach to running your business?
They say drug dealers make the best entrepreneurs out there. I don't know if you ever heard that before.
I mean, it translates the same.
It does.
I taught at the high school level, and I would really translate some of the math principles by way of telling them about like drug sales. You know what I mean? So
right. Yeah. So with that, my past experience influences. And again, it's still, even though it was illicit business, it was a business. You have to learn people. You have to learn good communication skills. I mean, that's a key thing. And not only that is you have to, and this is one thing I lacked, and this is, one thing that I think a lot of people forget is that you're dealing with humans. So, where's it at right there? So, we have a S for simulator. So if you go onto our webpage, you're going to see like our trademark is like an S and everything. And so, I had to get into, learning people if you're going to run a business. And this was one of my weaknesses. Right. So I list all my weaknesses, and I see how I'm going to overcome my weaknesses. Again, I write them down. If I don't write them down, then I don't know what to study. I don't know what to read. I don't care if it's YouTube. We learn either by reading, writing, we learn by doing, we learn by watching, we learn by listening to podcasts. There's, it's called the VARK learning model based off of Neil Fleming. So, but the one thing I was missing was, and I'm going to hold this up here, is the profile, disc profile.
That disc assessment.
Yes. So, and we can see that we put the S
Yeah,
in
y'all
the,
changed. Yeah, yeah. Okay,
so we got the coffee,
okay. Yeah,
holders. And so I got into,
yeah.
the profiling,
That's
personality
my realm
profiling.
right there. As an IO psychologist, that's my realm. The disc
Right.
assessment, yes, sir.
All right.
Yeah.
And, so that is, the past experience influences, even though it was a negative, I didn't understand personalities. I didn't know how to talk to people, even
Mm-hmm.
though I was kind of like
Mm-hmm.
up on a hierarchy,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought little of other people down there. And,
Mm-hmm.
um, I just have respect for, human. It doesn't matter what your job is or who you are or what you've done. I don't care. Anybody can read through BS nowadays, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if anyone ever comes to me, and anyone who's out there listening to this has any question, whether it be drug addiction, alcoholism, or HVAC or skilled trades, and you want to talk about it, just go to HVAC simulator and call that phone number. I'll get the message. Or there's email there also.
Yeah.
And with that, because I've been having this little bit of success, I'm just like, all right, it's time to give back now. So the other thing that I just started, so August 15th, last August 15th, I celebrated 20 years of sobriety. And
Congratulations.
thank you. And with that, I started HVACinrecovery.org.
Mm-hmm.
And what HVACinrecovery.org is that, and someone goes to treatment, we will match your salary, and we will give that money, your salary, to your wife and spouse, so they do not have to suffer while you're getting treatment.
Oh man, that's
So,
wonderful.
and
That's wonderful. That's what's up.
so yeah, and it's
That's
about giving back. It's all good to make money, right? But if your whole sole purpose of making money is to have that beach house and a boat and that car, then you don't give back, then you're sorry, I don't
abundance
think
is earned by helping. Period. Give it away. It'll come right back, and it come back tenfold.
Mm-hmm.
It come back tenfold. That's what's up. That's what's up.
Can't keep what you have unless you give it away,
Man, I'm trying to tell you. So is HVAC in recovery for anyone? Chicagoland area?
Yeah, anybody. Yeah, it's as long as you're in the HVAC industry.
Okay.
So we're going to work with your employer. You better have some stubs, and you better be, we're not just going to give money away to anybody in treatment. So it's funded by contractors. So yeah, it's a good organization. It's slow, grown organically, and I need to spend more time on it. But these crazy things like bank change keep happening to me, and it's insane what's happening.
Like you said, manifestation. You're writing it down, and it's coming to you.
Mm-hmm.
So I just got one more question for you as we get ready to wrap. I really wanted to, because we started now into this direction of, giving back, and so if nothing else, I'd definitely like for you to share some advice for other returning citizens who may be considering starting their own business.
You got to grind. If you think it's a 40-hour week, don't do it. I could have a successful life not doing it, but I still choose to this day, I probably work about 100 hours a week. But it's not work though. I totally enjoy what I do. And I don't know why, but I put 100 hours into it, 50 hours into my real job, as I call it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other stuff is a hobby, but I just love going to trade shows. So the thing of it is one, make sure you love what you're doing, make sure that it can stand the test of time. And not only that, but whatever, and I don't care what the widget is. And I use the word widget a lot. I don't care if you're out there selling puppy dogs, or if you're out there selling kitty cats. If you believe in it, people are going to see that you believe in it. You can be successful at it. But you may have to learn and study and read up on it. And you're going to have to work. And returning citizens, if you're going to start your own business, you're going to have to work somewhere. You're not going to be able to do it. And I'm speaking in absolute, and I don't mean that, but it's going to be very difficult to be able to start a business as a returning citizen and, be successful right away. You're going to have to work, and you're going to have to work twice as hard and get half as much out of it to the next person. And you got to be okay with that. You have to be okay with that. Look at your choices that you made. Take responsibility for your choices. I share in one of my talks is, do you think we live in a judgmental society? Yes, absolutely. I
Mhm.
pass judgment all the time. Judgment can either be used in a positive or in a negative way. Everybody passes judgment. But if you're going
Mhm.
to act like a jackass, you're going to get treated like a jackass.
That's for sure.
So, look at your behaviors. And I can't find out where the counselors are. I give such credit to the counselors out there and to the psychologists out there and what they do. And
Mhm.
this freaking mentality, now I'm getting sensitive here. This freaking mentality of these people, oh, you can't help me. You don't know what I went through. And, so my response is, if you have a brain tumor, are you going to go find a doctor that has a brain tumor to operate on you? Come on. I mean, so with that, I can't even begin to tell you, you got to get that pain outside of you.
Yeah.
And you got to look at that past, because that pain, that is whatever it may be. And part of it stemmed from, family, your parents is where it some of it comes from. They didn't understand you as a kid and you had to go out and learn your own. And you couldn't talk to that is pain that is inside of people.
Mhm.
And, so, look what I tell people, reflect on the influence, returning citizens, look at your kids. You cannot punish your kids for anything that they do, because they're always going to reflect it back on you.
Mhm.
So what you can do, you can sit your kids down and tell them what your choices were and what they are. And people think, you can't tell me I can't punish my kids. It's not going to mean anything, because they're going to look at your behaviors. That's
Mhm.
why, I'm against this legalization of marijuana. I don't give a shit if you smoke weed and, and recreate. I don't care. What
Mhm.
my problem with of the legalization is because it's going to affect the behavior of our kids. And we have to give our kids the best chance in this
Mhm.
world. And if they see somebody who's sitting there on the couch chiefing all day long, that's going to tell them, hey, it's okay. That behavior is acceptable.
Yeah.
Back when it was illegal, parents were out in the garage, puffing away, during my generation. And, so, but with that's, we have to give these kids, the best chance in this
Yeah, we
world if
got to give them an
possible.
opportunity. Yeah, for
Mhm.
sure. 'Cause our kids are definitely losing out for what's all going on today.
Uh-oh. I'm sorry, brother. These are my beliefs, man. My beliefs. My beliefs. Oh, don't take offense to it, please. I have so many things wrong in life. I did, and
Oh
maybe that's
man.
one of them. But I gotta take responsibility on it. So, but hopefully the intentions are good. I really do care about the youth so much that I go to high schools and I tell them. And thank you, brother, for the forgiveness. I appreciate it. And but yeah, and again, I go to prisons. I'm in the Defy program. So they
We got the
Defy
5 ventures.
Ventures.
Mhm.
Yeah. So right after I pitch a bank tank, then I'm going back to the Kiwani prison
Mhm.
and doing Defy, and they're doing a Shark Tank presentation there.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's what you give back. It's not what you take.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up. I'm gonna give you the ISO screen. Please let folks know where to find you, where to find the websites, anything that you want to include in closing. I mean, you dropped a couple nuggets earlier before we even got on the show today. If you want to share some of those things, some what got you through what you've gone through, anything you'd like to share is your time. You got the floor. ISO screen.
Yeah, I cannot even begin to tell the importance of writing your goals down and looking at what your past experiences are, whether they good or bad. But more importantly, I would challenge you to go and look at your past experiences and see how they have affected your life to where you've gotten today. And then not only that, is see how these experiences can be learning experiences. Therefore, the phrase about your past, your future can only be as good as your past. Therefore, that is the only way that we can turn our future into something, is if we learn from our past. But, my name is Dirk Nauman. I can be found at hvacsimulator.com, and that's on Facebook, also LinkedIn or the page. And on our webpage is the phone number 309-323-0013. Just tell them that you heard the podcast and you want to talk to me about something personal or about the podcast or whatnot. And I will get that message. So with that, I want to say thank you to DeAndre for allowing me to share my story, and hopefully it changes at least one person out there. Thank you.
Yes, no, appreciate you, Dirk. Man, thank you. It was matter of fact, just as the brother gave you grace, I want to give thank you on for extending me grace, because I messed up the schedule and we were supposed to do this last week, but you extended me the grace and you showed up tonight, and I thought it was a super dope conversation, and I do hope that folks tune in. And if they don't tune in, they at least share with somebody, because again, being from the west side of Chicago and dealing with the population that I deal with, returning citizens, is our folks that really need to understand that they have the ability to do exactly what you are doing. It's going to take a lot of work. They got to put in the effort, but if the mind is right, and that's what I really, like I said, what attracted me to you when we had that conversation, that one-to-one, essentially, that interview that I did with you, it was about the mindset. And thank you for allowing the mindset to show tonight and give folks that probably will never end up in the penal system something to think about with writing their goals down, because I'm a big advocate of that and believer of that. So just appreciate you, brother, so much, and I'm sure we're going to continue to be in contact. I'm sending blessings and prayers for you all success already in terms of the bank tank and whatever the future endeavors look like. So thank you once again for just joining me. I appreciate you.
All right. Have a good night. Thank you.
Sir. And I always like to say, y'all, class dismissed.